Okay, guys, welcome to a brand new episode of WrestleSlam, the podcast. And yet again, we are honored and absolutely thrilled to have a special guest with us today. Simon Gotch is a guy that we know extremely well, and he's made his presence heard and seen worldwide with an explosive TNA Impact debut where he, let's just say, showed Josh Alexander what he's all about. But Simon, first of all, it's great to chat to you again. We spoke many years ago in New Orleans. Um, TNA is on fire right now, and extra fire has been added since you've made that impressive debut. So, listen, why TNA Impact?
Well, first of all, I'd like to clarify. I allegedly made my debut attacking Josh Alexander. I have not admitted legally that I attacked him. I just want that on record that I have not admitted to that.
Okay.
Were there any policing agencies or Interpol listening to this particular interview? As for why TNA Impact, I think the answer is I like a challenge, and there is a very healthy roster of extremely talented individuals in TNA, which means there's a near never-ending selection of high-quality opponents that I could have exceptional fights with, and I'm looking very forward to that.
And listen, I must say it was fantastic seeing you on our TV screens. First of all, obviously we know you've been on the indie scene these last couple of years, but TNA obviously it's a massive organization. And Simon, I won't lie, we're hoping to see you around a lot more on TNA Impact. Yet again, we're massive fans, but is it something that might happen? Are you around to stay, or is it just a quick visit?
Well, it's ultimately going to come down to how all of this plays out. Obviously, I have my issues with Josh, and these need to be settled. TNA has been gracious in agreeing to certain, shall we say, certain stipulations. Part of the reason why I'm doing these interviews, in fact, that was one they had to ask for. That was a concession I made to allow me to hopefully settle this issue. And after that, it's a question of where do we go from there? If someone wants to see me in another fight, if there's somebody else who thinks that they are worth my time to challenge, then I'd absolutely be interested in listening. As I said, it's a very talented roster, so you can't really have a guy like Chris Sabin or Alex Shelley or Rich Swann or PCO. Geez, the Rascals. You see, there's a lot of choices here. There's a lot of worthwhile people to fight. So it really just depends on how long I stay. It depends on how long I stay entertained, how long I stay interested. As long as I'm getting to fight people that are worth my time, I'll stay forever.
I love it. And you do mention this. Obviously, look, the roster is fantastic. TNA Impact has gone from strength to strength. Obviously, we can see the zone. We've got insiders, Impact Plus. It's a great time to be a wrestling fan. Simon, I have to mention, your European fan base is incredible. Incredible. And, you know, for me, obviously look, that indie scene is incredible. We love the indie scene. It's great to have such a big indie scene across Europe and America, but we want you to stay at Impact. We want to see you on TNA every week. That's something that the fans want. So I hope it's something you can grant.
Hey, again, I'm always willing to talk, and if that's something that the fans, particularly of Europe and specifically Ireland, that they care about, I say let TNA know. Let them know you'd like to see more of me.
I agree. It's been a busy couple of years for you, Simon. And look, you're always active. I always say you're a very intelligent guy. Love, watching your interviews, love watching your matches in general. There's a certain guy you know extremely well, and once under the name Mr. Aiden English. Um, People would like to see yourself and Aiden maybe team up again. Look, you've had championship gold in the past. Is that something that might be, appealing to you in the near future?
Well, Matt and I have actually teamed on a couple smaller shows over the last maybe 6 months. Actually, what month is it? Is it February? Are we in February?
We are, yeah.
I have no concept of time. I have no concept of time. I genuinely don't know what date. I think it's Valentine's Day, isn't it? We're halfway through February. Oh my God.
It is. Happy Valentine's Day, by the way.
Time flies when you get dropped on your head for a living. But we've teamed on a couple of smaller shows, so it's really he was a bit surprised, as you may have gathered, this last week on Impact. I've said it a couple times today already, but I honestly believe, yeah, Tom, I know who that is. It would make a great T-shirt. that should teach him a lesson. I asked him for a comp ticket to the show. He really should have asked me why, but don't let me through the door if you don't want me coming in the house, is what I say. But I think if the right challenge came up, I think Matt would absolutely be open to the idea of teaming on bigger stages. We'll actually be wrestling together this weekend in Canada, in Hamilton, Ontario, taking on the Space Pirates.
Nice.
Team of Space Monkey and Shane Saber. And as you're aware, we're not fans of outer space or people who don't respect British maritime law. And as an Irishman, I know you don't respect British maritime law either. So
Yes, that's correct. But listen, it's exciting times. Like, let's talk about that alleged situation with Josh Alexander and
allegedly, yes.
And what's happened. Have you got a chance to look on online? Did you see what's allegedly been said and what's on Twitter, what's all over the internet? It's absolutely blown up, Simon.
I have not really paid attention to it. I'm a believer in what film auteur John Waters once said. He said, read the good reviews twice, the bad reviews once, to move on. And I try to avoid it in a personal issue, which admittedly, this is what me and Josh have. It is a personal issue because it doesn't change what I have to do. If people are happy to see me on TNA TV, if people are upset that I'm there, I'm sorry, but I have something to do. I don't have the option to say no to this because it's important to me. It's something that I have to take care of. And if I allow outside opinions to affect my actions, then I'm not being true to myself. I'm not being authentic to what is inside of me and what I need to express. So I tend to avoid it as best I can. Though I was happy a couple people noticed that I was wearing a Yoshihiro Takayama t-shirt.
Yeah.
That was, I big fan of Takayama. Yeah. He when I was in WWE and we did the shows in Japan, Takayama came backstage and he actually wanted a photo with me, and I was just I had the biggest smile on my face because I was like, Takayama wants my photo. That's the coolest thing ever. A friend of mine actually sent me a picture of him wearing a Vaudevillains t-shirt after that. It was pretty cool. But ever since then, I wanted to repay the favor. So wear your best armor when you're going into battle, right?
Exactly. Always. And Simon, look, I've been watching your career since day one. I want to mention a couple of names to you, okay? And I just want you to speak in general about, obviously, Daniel Bryan and Harley Race. These are guys that, like, obviously, look, they showed you quite a bit, I suppose, in the sense of, when you're coming up the ranks, you learned a bit from the lads. But, what were they like in your early days and on your path to success?
Well, with Bryan, it was a lot about understanding the importance of technique and learning how to wrestle, not just fight. And it's kind of two sides of the coin. From Bryan, I learned wrestling.
Yeah.
I learned, and his whole thing was, if anything falls flat, if you can't outpunch a guy, if you can't outkick a guy, if you can't outpower a guy, you can't outrun a guy. He's like, you can always wrestle. You can always out wrestle somebody. And as long as you have that base, you're always going to be able to fall back on wrestling. It's something that you see a lot when you watch me now. Is you'll notice I very rarely lock up with people. I will almost instinctively, I'll shoot a low single and try and take them down. And I've got 30 counters for any counter you can pull from that. So if someone tries to stop me, they're going to play right in my hand anyway, right?
Yeah.
From Harley, it was the opposite side of the spectrum, which was it was more about being tough and learning how to fight. Because again, there are going to be some situations where any concept of technique is going to fall to the wayside, and it's going to be about violence. It's going to be about hitting hard, hitting a lot, and making sure the other guy doesn't get up. I mean, the old saying with Harley was, if I hit a guy with my left, he doesn't fall down, I'll walk around to see what's holding him up. Which, sidebar, I loved the Iron Claw. I'm a big fan of Ross and Marshall Von Erich. They're friends. But I was the biggest pain in the ass while watching that movie because every 2 seconds I was like, that's not how Harley talked. He's grabbing the suplex on the wrong side. That's not how this happened. I've talked to Ross and Marshall. He told me what really happened here. I was a complete terror watching that movie. But the point is that Harley was about having that kind of that heart, having that toughness and being willing to take a beating and being willing to give one back. So again, it was learning the two different sides of what ultimately became most most accurately the base of my style, which was that hard-hitting toughness and that technical prowess.
Yeah, no, I love that. And even the way he took off Harley was incredible. I seen the Iron Claw last night. I was a big fan. It's iconic, I suppose, and such that they're such a big family in wrestling. But I appreciate you sharing that with us. We have to mention, so much, Simon. First of all, I just want to mention yet again. I'm going to go back to TNA. WWE Royal Rumble was something that was unique. It's something that you're aware of, and we've seen two female superstars from obviously TNA wrestle in this year's Royal Rumble. Um, if that opportunity came to you next year, say you're obviously a champion in TNA, I believe if you stick around in TNA, first of all, you will be a champion. But if you stick around, would it be, you know what I mean, something that would mean the world to you to maybe enter the Royal Rumble next year as a TNA star? Because we couldn't see this little collab going on at the moment. We like it. We love this whole TNA WWE vibe. Is that something that you'd like yourself? Is that something you could see happening in the future?
Well, I never actually got to wrestle in a Rumble when I worked for WWE.
Yeah, which is crazy.
That was yeah, I got to do the Andre Battle Royal at WrestleMania, but I never got to do the proper Royal Rumble. And it would be absolutely in line with my career history that my first time in the Royal Rumble was actually not working for the company. That I was working for TNA, and that was how I got in the Royal Rumble. So that would somewhat of an inside joke, if you want to call it this. I changed my Twitter handle some years ago to Devious Journey, and the joke was, if you actually look at the word devious in the dictionary, it means a indirect or winding path.
Yeah.
So the idea is that my entire career has been an indirect and winding path. I started out wrestling with the goal of going to Japan, and I wound up that was my only goal. I wanted to wrestle for Pro Wrestling Noah my entire career. I wanted to go there. I wanted to wrestle Mitsuharu Misawa. He was my favorite wrestler of all time. So I do that, and I fail and fail and fail, and I failed consistently. I failed so hard I wound up getting signed by WWE. And then after being gone from WWE, that was how I eventually wound up in Pro Wrestling Noah. So I wound up taking this very long indirect path. Even my signing process with WWE took about 18 months from the first time they saw me doing or presenting myself as I was at the time to getting actually signed was 18 months. So I've never really done anything quickly. And taking, almost a decade to get in the Royal Rumble and doing so when I don't work for WWE would absolutely be something that would happen to me.
Yeah, no, I could see it happening definitely. And like, obviously you're alert, you watch wrestling, you're a fan in general. Obviously, look, we mentioned so many great organizations, but yet again, TNA, you look at that X Division Championship, you look at the World Heavyweight Championship, there's obviously Tag Team Championships. Like, I generally believe that you're destined to be definitely an X Division champion, but definitely world champion. These are two incredible belts in this great organization. You look at all the athletes yet again. We mentioned that roster is incredible, but you look at the likes of Moose. You mentioned Josh Alexander, a former champion. Obviously, gold is in sight no matter where you are, Simon, because you're just a man that can do it all. So you know what I mean. Look at that, the realistic goal moving forward, and yet again, look, we're not sure what's going to happen quite yet at TNA. Surely, in the back of your mind, you do have TNA Championship goal in sight.
I tend not to prize titles, and I mean, don't get me wrong, titles are great. It's more prestige, it's more attention, it's more money. I have no problem with any of those things. But as I said to someone earlier today, money doesn't help me sleep. I want a challenge. Now, if you're asking me which one of those I would say presents the greatest challenge, I'd say the X Division title. Currently feels like it presents the most challenge because it has the most variety of talent. When you look at the upper echelons of TNA, you see people like obviously Josh Alexander and Moose, the bigger guys, the athletic guys, the guys who can kind of do it all. But the X Division has always been sort of action turned up to 11.
Yeah.
And I feel like if you were to put me in the X Division competitively, I'm taking that Samoa Joe type role where I'm not a traditional X Division wrestler. I'm not a high flyer. I'm not a guy who works on speed, but I am absolutely the guy that will beat those guys half to death and make them pray for their own passing. Yeah. So I bring that level of physicality that the X Division sometimes gets criticized for not having. which means the division would benefit from my presence the same way I'd benefit from holding the title.
Perfectly put. I love it. Now, Simon, I could be here all asking you questions. There was a couple of fan questions when we mentioned you were coming on. Obviously, look, we got so many questions first of all, but you've wrestled so many great guys over the years, and obviously you've got so much unfinished business. Like, you know, when it comes to the indie scene, you know, Japan, TNA, you know what I mean, and more. What kind of guys would you like to wrestle that you haven't wrestled yet? Like, you know, there's so many out there, but you've wrestled so many great guys already. But like, who's on that list for you that would bring the best out of you, and you know, you'd bring the best out of them?
Two that immediately jump to mind are Takanori Ito, who wrestles for. They say the company's name is Great, but it's spelled Gleet. So in Japan, I don't know which one's correct. I just know the way every Japanese person said no, it's pronounced Great. Like that was the joke why they named it that way. But Takanori Ito, I think, is very talented. I think he's probably one of the most underrated Japanese stars currently going. Same thing with Katsuhiko Nakajima, who recently transitioned over to All Japan. I actually had gotten to challenge Nakajima in a six-man tag, but we never got a singles, which I was very sad about because I got to wrestle Masakatsu Funaki, I got to wrestle Keno, but I didn't get to wrestle the third jewel in the crown of that. What was the group name? I completely blanking on that. But point being, I didn't get to wrestle Nakajima, and I really wanted to do that because I think that we have great chemistry and we really do bring the best out of each other. As far as if we go over to Europe, I mean, there's a lot of great talent coming out of Europe right now. This is going to be an odd one, but Cassius, Neon Cassius.
Oh yes.
I actually met him when I first went over to England a few years ago. Right after my release from WWE, actually, he did one of my seminars, and I think he's phenomenal. I think he would benefit from some harder hitting matches and some people that really sort of bring the fire out of him. Then again, if we were going to transition over to America, I mean, there's a lot of people here that I want to hurt. I'll be honest. I look at Japanese wrestling and I think there are people there that I want to challenge because they bring the best out of me. I look at the talent in Europe and I think there are people there that could bring the best out of that could help get better just by virtue of being able to fight. But I look at America and I just want to hurt these people. I just want to crush their skulls and make them suffer. And I feel like American wrestling fans can be very wrong a lot. They can be wrong a lot, and they tend to praise a lot of garbage. And I just want to make them eat that garbage. I just want to make them suffer, and I want to make wrestling fans in America understand that this is what good wrestling looks like. This is what a strong fight looks like. It should not be just because this guy retweeted you 5 times does not mean he's good. Yeah. The parasocial relationships, I'm not against all. So the people I want to face in America, it's almost always kind of out of spite. It's not really out of any good emotional desire. Good thing Josh is Canadian. That's a different issue altogether.
100%. No, completely understand. It's listen, any match that you put your name to, it's going to be a great match. We do pray that we see you back in the UK, Ireland very soon. Look, we're always pushing TNA tours, and who knows, we might see you on a TNA European tour, hopefully in a couple of months' time. As in regards to Ireland, you've got OTT, RCW, Hard Knocks. There's many Irish stars that would want to face you, Simon, and who knows, hopefully we'll get you here under the TNA brand at some stage in the coming months. It'd be an honor to have you back, and you know, we're all big fans.
It'd be an honor to go to Ireland directly. I've actually never gotten to wrestle there. If we can get Eddie Hamill out of retirement, I'd gladly face Old Kung Fu. That'd be a lot of fun.
Oh, definitely. But listen, my man, it's an honor as always. And look, I'm looking forward to seeing what's ahead for you. Hopefully, we'll see more action in the coming days and weeks. And listen, we're big fans. Thank you very much for your time, Simon.
Many thanks to you.
Thank you, sir.